Good evening, Rowlett. Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. It's been quite a while since we've had a town hall meeting, and so it's my privilege to be here. It's this council's first town hall meeting, so we look forward to answering your questions and engaging in dialogue about the important issues facing our community. And also, we have our city council with us. We're here, and staff is here, directors, employees who make stuff happen every day. So we thank them for being here with us. So again, city council's here. We're always very busy. There's always something going on every single day, whether it's a ribbon cutting, a meeting with neighbors, regional partnership meetings, a long list of committee meetings that we have. There's just always something going on, and we're proud to serve the community every day. And of course, our community partnerships are invaluable to us. These are just some of the many partnerships that we have with the nonprofit and organizations in the city, and they play a key role in our community's success. So I wanted to give them a brief shout out. We continuously strive to make our city better than the day before. And our great community has received these various awards over the years, and we are proud of that. However, there's always more work to be done, and we are looking forward to making this list too long to put on one slide. Hometown value is a key goal of the city, from low to zero cost public events to service with a smile. One of the things that I value most about Rowlett is its small town feel, and it's important to maintain that as much as possible, even through the growth we have all seen and in the region. And so and speaking of growth, we continue to see development across the city. Whether they were projects planned years ago or just now coming up from the ground, or developments that were planned recently, like the Lake Point Women's Center or Baywalk at the Marina. There's a lot going on. And you can go to, this is important, you can go to gismaps.rowletttexas.org and view the development activity interactive map to see everything that's going on throughout the community. It's pretty cool. It's new. You can just go on there. It'll show you a city map, and it'll have like red on the areas where there's development activity. So it's just a good knowledge base for us on what's going on and what's being built. For the current fiscal year, which began in October, your city council adopted a budget that reduced the property tax rate by 6.4 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is the largest rate reduction in over a decade. While this does not equal less in property taxes, as you all well know, it's a significant step in the right direction given the inflationary environment and higher appraisal values we all experience. So we've all felt the pain of inflation, and the city did not go unscathed from it. In 2021, the city predicted that it would not have to raise the water rate in fiscal year 2023. However, due to inflation and other factors, the North Texas Municipal Water District determined that it would have to increase the water rate by 13% in fiscal year 2023 and another 11% in fiscal year 2024. As a result, we increased the water rate approximately 1.8%, or $2.21 per month for the average residential customer who uses around 7,500 gallons per month. We were able to do that. So yes, the water district passed on a significant rate increase to the cities. Because of our fiscal budgeting and our utility fund, we were able to absorb a significant majority of that burden. So that is a shout out to our finance department and our council. Also, a 57% increase in diesel fuel and 4% increase in CPI also increased the city's trash collection contract with FCC by 5%, or 67 cents per month for residential customers with one polycart. We continue to make progress in addressing our infrastructure issues. The City of Rowlett has a robust, ongoing capital improvement program. Some of the most significant projects going on right now include the expansion of Miller Road from just west of Chisa to Dalrock Road, and phase 1 of a rebuild of Herforth Park in downtown Rowlett. In addition, the city is in the engineering and right-of-way stage for expanding Chisa Road from Dalrock Road to Miller Road. Additionally, we have either completed or will be completing various neighborhood reconstruction projects, which include new roads, sidewalks, and below-ground utility infrastructure like water, sewer. I'm looking forward to next year when we hopefully get to approve millions more in capital projects through the 2024 bond election process. So stay tuned for that. Transparency is very important to your council. So one of the unique ways we are sharing the goings-on in the city is through the My Rowlett podcast studio. And the My Rowlett podcast provides a bi-weekly insider's look to the city initiatives, as well as interviews with some of our local newsmakers, business owners, and citizens making a difference in shaping our community's future. I also go in depth with my monthly mayor's newsletter updates on the podcast, so if you're looking for more information on monthly updates, that is the place to go, and I go into depth on some of those details, so you check it out sometime. We have important things coming up. This May, you can expect a few city things to be on the ballot. One is the public safety facility, which includes the police department, jail, municipal court, property evidence, and fire administration. Also, you can expect to see a new animal shelter on the ballot and Herforth Park phases 2 and 3. We are severely out of space in the police department and animal shelter. Detectives are practically working on top of each other. We have no more room in the dispatch console. There is no more locker space for officers. We've used every closet, and there continues to be significant facility issues with PD. Animal Services continues to go into code red due to not having enough space, and there is also continues to be facility issues there as well. We try to keep up on it as much as possible, but you can only use duct tape so much. So it's about time that we place these items on the ballot to let y'all decide if we should build a new home for our police and animal services. Additionally, there will also be a city charter election on the ballot, and you can see on the slide some of the items being recommended. For example, council attendance, special meetings, municipal court, municipal judge, charter review commission, and the charter review term. There are various amendments that will be on the ballot in their own individual propositions. We also have an election in May for City Council places 1, 3, and 5, where Councilmembers Bell and Councilmember Grubisic due to term limits. Their service to the city is much appreciated. Councilmember Gallawardi is not termed out and will have the opportunity to apply for a second term, which I believe he has done. Okay. Other important news, the City Council recently accepted forwarding a petition to the North Texas Municipal Water District Board of Directors to request annexation into the district as a member. Right now, and for 57 years, Rowlett has been a customer city of the Water District, meaning we neither have a seat on the board of directors and also pay a customer city premium, which is currently 5 cents per 1,000 gallons of water used. Today, the premium impact to the city is roughly $160,000. The board of directors hired a consultant to determine if the customer city premium should be reevaluated, and unfortunately, that consultant came back to the board of directors and suggested that it's possible they need to raise the customer city premium to 30 cents per 1,000 gallons of water used. So that is a huge impact to all of us. That would equal roughly over $1 million a year in a customer city premium. So obviously, for many reasons, it's critical that Rowlett finally becomes a member of the Water District. And finally, be looking for my State of the City address, which will be released on the city's social media and website on February 7th. Additionally, at the council meeting, I'll be presenting to the City Council and the citizens the State of the City address. So thank you all again for being here, and we are excited to answer your questions and look forward to the dialogue. Appreciate it. Who's first? Someone's got to warm us up. You're good at. You're going to warm us up. I know you are.
Right there. I just wanted to talk about the restroom that I believe was approved in the 2015 bond package for Paddle Point Park. Well, actually, I believe it's supposed to go in the Lakeside Park on the south side where we have more room. And we still, 8 years later, have not built that restroom. And there's a tremendous need for it, and rather go in the symptoms that show we need it. We'll pass on that. But I talked with Aaron earlier this week, and he gave me a very nice email with the excuses or reasons we don't have it. But after 8 years, we don't need any more excuses. We need that there, and that's part of the capital program. And we're talking about spending tens of millions of dollars or sending out bonds for the residents to be paying for the next however many years. And I think we need to take a look at how we do our capital projects. And when we have items that are 8 years and still not built, that needs to be taken into consideration when we put our capital projects and our bond projects together. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk with you. Or is there a discussion at this point?
It's not like your normal council meeting where you can walk away.
I guess this is, oh, darn. Okay, fire away.
You have us cornered, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Aaron, or Jeff Cohen? Which one of y'all has more information than the other?
Hi, I'm Jeff Cohen, Interim Director of Engineering. We bid that out very recently, last month, and we got no bidders, no responses. So we need to come up with some other creative ideas on how to get that project completed. That's the information I have at this point.
That's news for me. Anybody want to build a restroom?
You know, I have 5 restrooms at the building that I built just specifically thinking that we needed restrooms there. And it's not on park take line property, but there is an outdoor restroom there. And I just throw that out. And at this stage, I left it open for about 1 day and then realized I did not want to be responsible for all the restrooms for Paddle Point Park, Lakeside Park. But I believe, well, here I go. I believe maybe the city has a responsibility for that, but I do have some restrooms right there. Sorry, Aaron, for cutting in.
No, you're fine. The restroom is actually under construction. It takes about 12 weeks for them to actually build everything and put it together. The arrival date is scheduled for the end of February. So hopefully by then we'll have some utility solutions for the restroom.
So, to clarify, the city purchased a prefabricated building that houses the restroom, but we do need utility connections in order to make it functional.
Where will that restroom be located? I'm assuming in Lakeside Park, but will it be close so Paddle Point Park users can use it, or where's?
It will be right at the first parking area. So as soon as you turn onto CA Roan,
Yep.
it'll be right there next to that first parking lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate
Can
it.
I leave, or am I still up here to get? Thanks a lot.
Up to you. Hi there.
Hello, folks. Michael Shoup. Just relative to the water district, are we completely at their mercy as far as the petition? Are we able to go to a higher authority? Is there a legal recourse? I mean, this is a really impactful situation. I mean, if they say no, what are next steps?
Well, I hope that they give us a decision. One of the challenges we're facing right now is getting them to actually consider it formally. and then make a vote and to determine whether it is or not within the best interest of the district for Rowlett to be annexed into the district. Once that happens and a decision is made, let's say, for example, they say no, and they vote no, then we will have the ability to go to appeal that decision to the, I believe it's the TCEQ, I believe that is the governing board, to state our case, and then they determine whether it is or not within the best interest of the district for Rowlett to become a member. At that point, the TCEQ will order an election in the territory, so Rowlett, for the citizens to decide whether to basically accept a debt obligation as a result of becoming a member of the district. Yes, it's a critical issue. Again, Rowlett's been a member or a customer city for 57 years. And so it's been long overdue that we play a more key role into the decisions being made regionally at the North Texas Municipal Water District. For reference, there are 13 member cities, and each member city with a population of over 5,000, which I believe is now all of them, has 2 board members who sit on the board. So they currently have, I believe, 25 or 25 board members. So it's a huge board, and they're looking into ways to address that issue. But to get directly to your question, if they say no, honestly, that would be just fine, because then we can appeal to the TCEQ. We'd love for them to say yes. That would make things a lot easier. But that doesn't seem to be my reading into the board at this point.
So the good news is there is recourse. It's not a sorry, hit the road.
Right.
And do we have any sort of timeline? Are they beholden to any timeline? Are they on their own timeline? Are we able to accelerate things?
So at this point, they're on their own time. At this point, as of today, actually, Councilmember Galawardi, Mayor Pro Tem Winget, and I just came back from the Water Board meeting, and we all spoke, and ultimately they came out of executive session regarding the annexation with a statement, and Councilmember Galawardi was there for that part.
So, good evening, and thank you all for being here. Yes, this is a very important topic for us. I was both discouraged and encouraged today with the discussion. The NTMWD board is very willing to listen to us. We're getting good support from our representatives at the state level. We even had a federal level representation today. The holdup right now is that there was in 2016 a moratorium passed by the board. At the time, the supply of water was very limited. Remember the droughts that we had early on. And they opted to spend all of their attention building the Boat Ark Lake and the necessary water treatment plants to use that Boat Ark Lake supply. So in September 22nd of 2016, the board voted unanimously for a moratorium on any annexations into the district so they could focus on that lake. That lake is supposed to come online in, I think, April of this year, and the moratorium in its wording had the moratorium expiring when they were taking water from that lake. So there is some encouragement in terms of the timeline there. As the mayor said, they are also thinking about defining an orderly process for annexations. We're not the only ones who might want to be members. So they are looking at the rules that they will use to apply the discretion that they have in terms of whether it is to the benefit of the district and to the benefit of the territory that's requesting the annexation. We spoke today to encourage them what those rules might look like. They have a consultant study out right now. They're planning to have a work session in mid-February to talk about the results of that, in particular the premium the mayor mentioned. And they are planning to have another work session on the annexation process, I believe, in March. And the verbiage that they read after the executive session was that they hope to have something in the spring. But of course, government moves slowly. So, Our hard deadline for us, and I think Mayor had mentioned this before, our contract with the board expires early next year, and we would like the next contract to be as a member city as opposed to being as a customer city. So,
Well, I know I'm glad that the leadership of the city is at least being proactive and filing the petition and pushing this through, so appreciate it.
Thank you. And another key point is their decision today was based on the resolution regarding the moratorium, basically saying we won't consider any more cities being annexed into the district. And our argument is that that does not affect Rowlett because we currently use your water. You currently supply us water, and that won't change as a result of us becoming a member. So it's really more of a delay tactic.
Yeah.
So we're exploring different avenues. I appreciate the question.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. So I don't know if you're aware, but there's been an increase in incidents or accidents that occur on I-30 in which the highway is completely shut down. And a lot of times traffic is detoured in through the city, usually on the peninsula, in order to go around that. And as I sat on the bridge for 45 minutes from Miller going onto the peninsula, I couldn't help but wondering, like, there's got to be something that we can do about that. Does the city have a plan or plan to develop a plan to mitigate the gridlock traffic in the event that there's any incidences or accidents that shut down I-30?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I will tell you this: Interstate 30 has obviously been a issue for us for a while, and fortunately, the good news is once the construction is done, it will be fabulous because you will have two separate bridges, separate from the main lanes. So if the main lanes have to be shut down, you can divert traffic to the service roads, the 4-lane service roads, which keeps traffic moving. So in the long haul, this will be worked out. In the interim, for years, as you all know, it is going to suck. And yeah, anytime there's an accident, people are going to use Rowlett as a thoroughfare. It's just a fact. And traffic will be negatively impacted. We've all sat in that traffic. It is awful. If there's anything that we can do directly to mitigate that, other than building another road, I mean, there's things we can look at in terms of traffic light timing.
Control, yeah. Because like I was sitting on the bridge and I was going on the peninsula because that's, I guess, the direction that it was going. And I was like, why can't we just shut Miller down from the coming this way? Because they're already going up towards Lakeview and then detouring the people trying to go west to Lakeview. Could that not work?
That would require a lot of staff in order to do something like that. Plus, when you're dealing with a traffic situation like that, where you're shutting down one direction of a roadway, there's a lot that has to go into that. I mean, you have to think about cone placement. You know, that's not something you can flip a switch on and make happen. Do any of y'all, Chief or any of y'all want to speak on this? Both chiefs, or y'all deal with this?
Good evening, everyone. Mike Denning. I'm the Chief of Police here in Rowlett. I've been here about 4 months. So thank you for your question. First of all, from what I've learned and working with my staff, that stint of road on I-30, particularly between Dowell Rock and Rockwall, is very challenging. Possibly one of the most challenging stints of roadway in all of the DFW area, even from talking with other chiefs and their traffic challenges. What we are currently doing, and that accident that you're referring to was particularly challenging. It turned out to be a fatal accident. And when we have a fatal accident, we have fatal accident investigators that respond to the scene, and they have to do an extensive investigation, as you know, gathering evidence, and oftentimes that results in shutdown of the road in order for them to do their best work. And so what we have been doing is working with TxDOT to have a more rapid response, so that once command is established at those scenes, we're able to get additional resources there. the Rowlett Police Department is responsible to respond to all those traffic accidents on the I-30, which equates to about 10.4% of all of our accidents. So we rely on other agencies to assist us in the shutdown of all these roads. That includes Rockwall County Sheriff's Office, Rockwall PD, and Texas DPS. And so calls pending, if it's a busy night or busy at that particular time, that was possibly the worst time that could have occurred. It was during, I believe it was the Christmas or the holiday parade or the holiday Main Street Festival, and it was during rush hour. And so we're a busy police department, and our officers are out handling 911 calls, and the other agencies are out handling 911 calls. So we rely on them, and if they're not available, then that's going to slow down the response. But I'm confident that with working with our partner agencies and working with our staff that have been working very hard to ensure we have a fast response time to those so that we can get those roadways opened up as soon as possible.
Sure. Thank you. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just one other thing too. The city has known this has been an issue for quite some time, and there are plans in the works to create another north-south corridor, which is Cheesa Road, with the idea that when these kind of events happen, it's no longer just Dow Rock or just the PGBT or Rowlett Road. There would be at least one more north-south exit. It's going to take 3 phases to do that. We already have the first phase budgeted on the south side. Miller Road would be expanded as well, and the goal there is to improve traffic flow. But this is an hourglass. If you think of an hourglass, Miller Road Bridge is that hourglass. So our council and the mayor are pressing to build a regional coalition to improve, to expand that access across the lake, which also then gives us another east-west, a wider east-west corridor. In the long run, I-30 will solve for itself, but I will say that the Miller Road Bridge is a big, big project. This could be a $60, $70 million project by itself, and unfortunately, Rowlett doesn't own it all. That means we got to have cooperation with Dallas. We need federal money. We need state money. This is not something that our citizens can be tasked with all by themselves. So it's a big issue, and ultimately, and the mayor was alluding to that earlier, we don't have the ability to put a police officer on every intersection to navigate traffic. That will not happen. All we can do really is look long range down the road to see what kind of improvements we can make to improve traffic flow within the city, but at least I-30 is funded and will be fixed long term.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Also, we have Facebook Live as well that is going on. There's questions, I think, coming in. Denise, did you have any questions? Not yet? Oh, okay. Mr. Larry Beckham.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank you folks for having the town hall meeting. It's been a long time since we've had one, and it's really good that you come out and talk to the citizens. My topic is the working hours of the city employees, where it went from 5 days a week to 4 days a week. Through my newsletter, I get comments from citizens. The majority don't like it. I put out surveys on Facebook. I put it on 5 different Facebook groups, and I bet 85% at least said they don't approve of it. As one person says, there's not a whole lot you can do after you're started, but she suggested that in other places, employees get a choice of whether they want to work on a Monday or a Friday, and therefore the office can still be open on those days. Maybe a skeleton group, but at least the office would be open. I also get a lot of questions about who do I call about roads, trash, and so forth. And my main question is Action Line. But then I have to go and say, Action Line's not open on Fridays. You know, to me, that's a very critical office, and something needs to be done to allow that office to stay open 5 days a week. And just wondered if there's anything being kept to track people's complaints, or is anybody looking at it, or is it just is it a done deal that from now on the citizens only get most people, employees, 4 days a week?
Larry, that's a great question, and I appreciate the way you characterized it. Let me just say a couple things. I know that some of our council members have also answered this publicly. I know Jeff did, for example, and I think you laid it out really well. So I'll say this. One thing council did ask for this is that at the end of 6 months that we report back to council what we've heard, how it's working, what steps we might need to do to improve it. So sometime around April, I don't know which meeting it would be, we intend to do that. And yes, we are tracking those. Now, if you're tracking them separately, we may not have access to your information, but we certainly have access to what we're hearing and those kind of things. Just so you're clear, police and fire did not make those changes. In other words, we're still doing patrol. It's still 24/7 operations. With regard to a lot of our operational departments, there are some where they have done the staggered shifts. You know, obviously, animal shelter, you can't not feed the animals one day out of the week. So they have to have coverage, you know, every day, 7 days a week. In addition, in our community development department, they still are having people that come in and do inspections so that we're not holding up the builders and developers and things like that. Now, you specifically mentioned the Action Center and some other things. I think part of it is that as we are engaging with the public, most of the people who have brought the issue to us have indicated that they've been able to shift whatever their concerns or schedules around. If you are hearing differently from folks, you do need to share that with us. I would appreciate you sharing that with us because we are going to have that conversation with council. Now, that's the practical, logistical part. I want to get to kind of what stirred or stemmed this process from starting to begin with. So, as you know, the Dallas-Fort Worth area is an extremely challenging market. We're constantly, we know that we're always competing against some cities that have really high commercial bases, Plano, Frisco, McKinney maybe. But at the same time, Rowlett is growing too, and it is providing some additional resources that even just a few years ago we weren't sure if we would have those level of resources. But when the budget came down to it and we start thinking about how many more officers we might need, firefighters we might need for the future, we can't do everything at one time. And then it just comes down to prioritizing. We felt strongly that paying our police officers and firefighters a more competitive wage was critical, but we did not feel we could do the same thing for our non-sworn public safety employees. If we were to try to match that, we would have had to pull back on what we could have provided raises for public safety. Ultimately, it was not our recommendation, and I believe our council could not live with that. It's too critical, and even as it is, even when you're able to compete for public safety, we still have turnover. Everybody does. This is a nationwide problem, not just a Rowlett issue. So the bottom line is that we felt if we could offer something to our non-public safety employees that would make it attractive for them to work in Rowlett, have some benefit that we felt like would not impact our customer service level, that it was worth considering. At the 6-month point, what I think will happen, the conversation, we probably will make some additional tweaks to it, but in the meantime, until we can truly compete at that level for both public safety and non-sworn public safety, we need to do something, and this was the something we proposed and what council approved. So tune in April. I think you'll hear from us. You'll be able to see the discussion we'll have as we talk it out, and I personally would appreciate any feedback you do have.
Well, you and I have both been in government service for so many years that we know that there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. And so now that it's been given to them, and I think we've got some of the best city employees around. I'm not complaining about them, but it's just that the idea of the city is supposed to be serving the public. And only doing it 4 or 5 days a week doesn't catch it. I know that some of the excuses or the reasoning I heard was, well, to be starting an hour early and working an hour late. But if you think about the person who lives in Dallas or Plano, generally they leave at 6 o'clock in the morning and don't get home until 6 o'clock at night. So I don't see how it's going to help them. But anyway, that's my say. Thank you.
Hello.
I'm Susan Henschel, and if you go on Zillow and you put in rental houses in the 75088 zip code, you can see a house that rents for $7,500 a month. You can see a house that rents for $9,500 a month. This is on streets like Trail Lake, okay, 1,800 square feet. Presumably, these are short-term rentals. Where does the city stand on short-term rentals?
Oh, I'd be happy to. We just had a conversation about that at our last council meeting, although I was in DC for that, so I'm going to refer to Manal Maladad for that later. Regarding the Zillow listing, oh, yeah, hold on. No. Regarding the Zillow listings, I've actually seen that myself. There's actually homes out there for $12,000 a month for lease. It's pretty unbelievable. Mm-hmm. This market is something else. But those are, to my understanding, not short-term rentals, rather like real rentals, yearly rental. However, we have addressed short-term rental issues and are going to be hopefully strengthening some of our ordinances with regards to short-term rentals, because that has been an issue before, where you have investment companies that come in and buy up some homes and turn around and either lease it or short-term lease it. And also there's individuals who short-term lease their home as well. And so most of them are compliant with our current ordinances, but there are some from time to time that are not in compliance, whether that is too many occupants of the home, parking issues, noise ordinance violations, etc. Manal Maladad, do you want to go further into this? Community Development and Engineering Director.
Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Manal Maladad, and thank you, Blake. I don't think I need to add very much other than we are anticipating presenting a draft ordinance to City Council regarding short-term rentals. And really what we're trying to create, in essence, is a permitting process that allows us to have more enforcement tools available to us to better manage and make sure that as best as possible we can capture and ensure the registration of the short-term rentals in the community. So we will be hopefully presenting a vendor option to council, and through a permitting application process, create more transparency in the sense that those within 200 feet of a short-term rental, for example, should the ordinance be approved, would be notified that this indeed is a short-term rental. So more clarity in terms of where they are and what's going on, keeping in the parameters of the state regulations as it relates to short-term rentals. But if you have any questions at all, my name's on the website. I think I'm the only Manal around here, so just email me, and I'll be happy to try and address your questions.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could just add, Manal alluded to it, but state law prohibits us from being able to outright ban short-term rentals. And frankly, it's a property owner's right. And I'm a firm believer in property owners' rights within reason. We have to hold these short-term rentals to the same standards that we hold all of our other residents, and that is just to respect your neighbor. That's what it comes down to. So I think that's a really important note. And it's probably wise for everyone here to just keep up with what's going on in the legislature right now, state legislature, as they come back into session, because there could be short-term rental bills at a state level that would override anything we could do here in the city, and they might expand the property rights and limit the rights of municipalities to regulate short-term rentals in our community.
Hi there.
Hello, Valeria Holland. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I had a question about voting centers. I know citizens of Rowlett that are in Rockwall County, we used to have a voting center at Collins Lake Point Elementary. And I know that Rockwall Elections Administrator decided, they voted that they would no longer have voting centers in elementary schools. So that leaves the Rowlett citizens that live in Rockwall County. We don't have a voting center in Rowlett, and so we, trek across the water and go to Rockwall. And we do that, but I think it would be beneficial to have one in the city of Rowlett. Has that been considered, or is that in the works, or what's the status of that?
Thank you for that question. It's very important. So I don't know if y'all heard, but basically Rockwall County at a time, whenever there was voting going on, used Collins Lake Point Elementary as a voting center. That way, Rockwall County Rowlett residents had a place to vote in the city. A few years ago, yes, correct, yeah. For Rockwall County elections, state elections, national elections, yes. And so a few years ago, I'm not quite sure what happened, but something between this Rockwall ISD and the Rockwall County Elections Department took place, and no longer is Collins Lake Point able to be used as a voting center. Therefore, the county has decided to make Rowlett residents travel all the way to the Rockwall County Courthouse to vote. That is, whether on purpose or not, it is suppressing votes because it's eliminating convenience of voting for Rockwall County residents. So we recognize that as a serious problem. The Rockwall County just had an election, November, I think, yes. And Frank New is the new county judge. I have had conversations with him about this. He recognizes it as a big issue, and that's one of the first things that he's going to try and look into. He just got into office this month, so he's I'm sure, inundated with a lot of things going on, but he recognizes it as a serious issue. Additionally, I'm probably going to get with my colleagues pretty soon on passing some form of resolution requesting that the county elections department and the county commissioners court address this issue and put back in a voting center for Rockwall County Rowlett residents in Rowlett. Maybe we can partner with them. There is a challenge because there are no public facilities in Rockwall County on the Rowlett side. So we'll have to be a little creative on where maybe we have to rent a space or come up with some interlocal agreement with another organization that's on the Rockwall County side. Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Schinder is quote unquote kind of like the unofficial Rockwall County liaison for Rowlett, so she goes to all of the Rockwall County committee meetings and is in tune pretty well with what's going on that side of the lake.
Yes, well, Blake took most of what I would have said, but I just do want to reiterate that I do go to those meetings. I'm well acquainted with new County Judge Frank New and with some of the commissioners over there. I have brought that up to him before too, and will continue to do so. I think that it's really a shame that in order to vote in your city council election, you have to go to another city to do that, and that does not make sense to most people. So, because the election, your election, your voting place is determined by your county. And so a lot of people don't realize that Rockwall County residents do have to leave the city to vote in city elections. And I've been trying to do what I can and will continue to do what I can, and I know Blake's on this too. I can't promise anything, but I can tell you that I will work for those Rockwall County people. You're a minority in this city, but you're an important minority.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we get any Facebook questions? Okay, after this gentleman, I'm going to have a question from Facebook Live. Yes, sir.
My name is Darrell Test. I have a general question regarding some of the ordinances. I know there are ordinances that restrict leaving vehicles on streets if they're not operational. And I know that there are vehicles sitting on streets that haven't been moved in years. Also, there's an ordinance about keeping your yards clean and not pushing all the leaves out into the street. I've got neighbors that's all they do. They blow their grass, they blow their leaves out into the street. So my question is, who is responsible for code enforcement, and do we have enough staff to do that? How do we get some of this cleaned up?
So Rowlett is 20 square miles, and we have how many code enforcement staff? 5. So to answer your question, no. So we typically respond to citizen complaints. So if you see a ordinance violation, you can contact code enforcement, and they will send somebody out to evaluate that and determine the next steps. We like to work with the owners of the properties before we have to move to the next step of a citation. And typically, I think we have like a 98% success rate. So we're not having to issue a lot of citations. Rather, it's a lot of warnings. Manal Maladad, did you want to go further into this?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Yes, absolutely. We do have 5 officers who then are divided within the city. We try to do regular patrols and check on everything as it relates to nuisances or infractions. Please do contact us, and then we will go and do an inspection. If there is indeed an infraction, we provide plenty of notice time, giving the property owner time to remedy the situation. And based on that, giving them the opportunity to do that, you will see the remedy will take just a little bit longer, but mostly we do have a compliance rate, voluntary compliance rate, 94 to 98%. In terms of the vehicles that you see parked on the street, contact us, community development, neighborhood code enforcement officers, and we'll coordinate with PD and then monitor that to alleviate the concern there.
Okay, so contact you and let you know.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Communications, do y'all have a question from Facebook Live?
Yes. Could you address park safety specifically as it pertains to recent incidents at Twin Star Park?
Okay, so this is regarding the shooting incident that occurred last week at Twin Star Park. Twin Star Park is in the northeastern quadrant of the city, kind of roughly behind Ace Hardware, further back there. I think that's what it is. Is that it? Yeah. And so an incident occurred last week where 3 juveniles were shot. Fortunately, no fatalities. I'm going to let Chief Denning go into that further regarding park safety at Twin Star Park.
That was a Facebook question, right? So thank you for submitting that question. Yeah, we had a very unsettling, unfortunate, violent crime incident there at Twin Star Park a couple of weeks ago. As the mayor mentioned, we had 3 victims that were shot, 2 juveniles and an adult, I believe. 2 juveniles and an adult. They were treated and they are okay. They are at home recovering, and we pray for their fast and speedy recovery. That is an active and ongoing investigation regarding that crime, and I cannot speak about the details so that we do not compromise the investigation. We did release an updated press release just yesterday on that investigation, and what I can tell you is that we have identified the suspect, and we do have an order to detain that suspect, so that if that suspect is stopped anywhere in the country by any law enforcement officer, that suspect will immediately be taken into custody. Again, this is an active and ongoing investigation, and there are a lot of, we will not stop and we will not tolerate violent crime in the city of Henderson. I'm sorry.
We will
Thank
never
you.
forget that, Chief.
Can we rewind that? As I said, I've only been here 4 months, so. Old habits. So, I do want to emphasize, though, and we've talked about this as a police department. We have increased the number of officers on patrol, and our officers have increased their proactivity nearly over 60% just since December. And I'm extremely proud of their efforts to be out there, be policing your communities. They are in your communities, and we're ensuring that we are utilizing every resource we have until that suspect is brought to justice. And once again, we will not tolerate violent crime in the city of Rowlett.
Thank you, Henderson Chief. Appreciate it.
And I know the question had more specifically about the parks. And so just earlier this week, I met with Parks Director Aaron Cleaver, and we had some conversations about things that we can do to partner together between the police department and Parks and Recs and all the other city departments to improve park safety, not just there, but at our other parks as well. And what the police department is doing is we're taking a no-tolerance approach to individuals that are in the park after hours that shouldn't be there. And so we will be, our officers have been directed to increase enforcement, and if there are people in the park after hours that shouldn't be there, they will be stopped and they will be cited for violating park rules after 11 p.m. Aaron Cleaver, would you like to come up? Aaron can talk about some of the things that I know that he's working hard on to improve park safety as well.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, obviously one of our goals is to make sure all of our parks are safe. One of the things that specifically at Twin Star Park is you're going to see immediate changes is we're going to temporarily remove the basketball hoop. We are going to increase the lighting that is there. I had staff go check it out today. So hopefully we'll be able to increase the lighting. Some other steps that we've taken, we've reached out to other cities to see what they do to just try to combat crime. You know, is it, you know, automated systems? Is it additional lighting? You know, lighting is a double-edged sword, to be honest. You know, the more lighting you have, it invites more people to come. So one of the things I'm going to follow back up with PD is about is helping do an analysis at each of our parks, you know, to ensure safety, not only at Twin Star, but at Community and Shorewood and the smaller neighborhood parks as well. So the immediate changes you'll see pretty quick. Other changes will take a little bit of time, but we're steadily working on it. So
I'm not done.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, you know, to reiterate, justice will be served in this case. You know, our every resource of the police department in terms of this criminal investigation division is dedicated to making sure that justice is served. And to reiterate, violent crime won't be tolerated. Council, you know, continues to be mindful of the appearing increase in some of this violent crime. You know, a lot of, at least as of recent, at least from my observation, a lot of the recent violent crime seems to be coming from young adults and juveniles. I was just in DC last week with mayors across the country, and we all are seeing this. A lot of violent crime being done by young adults and juveniles. So we have a society problem. So you know, I'll be looking to working with the school districts on what kind of creative ways we can come up with to try and prevent this kind of activity. You know, it's very complicated because there won't be one answer, and you also have to keep in mind that you need willing participants who want help and need the help. So there's some more work to do on this in regards to preventatives, because we shouldn't just be focused on reacting. we need to be trying to prevent this from happening again. Did you want to make a point?
So I'm a resident who lives very close, as several of us do, to Twin Star Park, and I was obviously alarmed by what I learned and what I found out, and that was a pretty scary night because it was really close to home, quite literally. But that would be true of any park in the city, and I think what most of us as residents, what we fall into is we don't know what to do. How do we help fix this? And that's the biggest fear, is we seem helpless to fix it. And I think what occurred to me is that just by being out in the park, more of our residents, more of us that are in the community are going to be more aware of what's going on, and we can report things as they start to happen. So me, myself, I'm planning to get off my lazy butt and go take a walk around the park at night, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Maybe when it's dark, take a flashlight, whatever. Take my 70-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback with me. But if we as members of the community get out and into these parks, I think that's the one thing that we can do to really help bring a presence into these parks, that we're not going to tolerate that type of behavior, and we're not going to tolerate violence here in the city of Rowlett.
And Rowlett, not Henderson.
We'll do it in Henderson, too. I happened to be looking through the Rowlett Municipal Code the other day, and the Chief just alluded to the fact that we have a blanket ordinance out there that says our parks are open at daybreak and close at 11 p.m. I'm not sure of the origin of that, but I'm willing to have a conversation around whether that 11 p.m. end time is appropriate. Many places I've been, once it's dark, the park is closed. Now, that's a hard thing to put into municipal code, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that Jeff wants to walk around at 8 o'clock at night with his Ridgeback and his flashlight. So I think that's an avenue that we can look at. I know we have what I think of as destination parks. Community park certainly probably needs different hours than a neighborhood park. You have softball tournaments that run into the evening in places like community park. But I don't see in small neighborhood parks that we really need to permit if the neighbors do not want people in their neighborhood after dark in the parks to permit that. So I think that's a conversation we can have park by park, neighborhood by neighborhood, and perhaps that will give the chief then a little more leverage, that if he comes by. I note that the 2 recent shootings in parks were after dark. I think the incident at Twin Star was at 9-something, and we had something recently again after dark in Paddle Point. So I think that is a conversation that we should have, but that's a conversation to have with the neighborhood. So I'm not sure how we go from there. Do we need to have neighborhood meetings? And I feel Deb tapping my shoulder.
I didn't want you to send it back the other way. Thanks. I think my fellow council members have addressed the question specifically about the parks, but I did want to make the point that the violence problem is not just confined to the parks. My own neighborhood, we had a shooting there not too long ago, and luckily it was only a vehicle that was shot up and no one was injured. But it was still very, very scary for my neighbors. And I think one thing that people, Jeff said, we don't know what to do, or the people in the neighborhoods don't know what to do to help to prevent these things. And they also don't know what to do when these things happen. How do you react? And, for some people at least, when they hear something that sounds like gunshots, what do? They go out to see what's going on. It's not really the safest thing to do. Our police department not long ago put on a training session at Freedom Place Church dealing with how to respond in an active shooter situation. And that was more of an inside a building kind of situation. But there are also protocols, there are also things that you can do to keep yourself safe, because that should be your first priority, is to keep yourself and your family safe, right? And then we can worry about the rest afterward. So I would like to see the police department, and I've talked with the chief, and I think they will be doing more of this, and would like to just let the community know, because I know that many of you don't, that there are programs like this where you can go and you can learn how to respond in that kind of situation.
Lee.
He says that very quiet, like you're scared.
You're going to have to take that mic off.
Okay, no, I have only 2 items I'd like to discuss. Number one is the police department. I would like to see them get a public information officer that is assigned specifically for that purpose. I think that would help a lot in getting the information out quicker. It's accurate. I don't want to hear it from neighbors. What happened at the park? I only live a half a block from there. I went to bed. That was simple for me. You can't do anything else. That's number one. Number two, how are you going to market the municipal building? I can tell you from working at our fire department that we need a municipal building. How are you going to market it? Most people don't know about it. So if we're going to put it on the proposal for May, what are you going to do?
Very important questions. And regarding your first question about the PIO, I believe that is being worked on. Chief Denning, did you want to address that? Are you advising our chief?
I think we emailed too, didn't we? Yes, no, we're really excited about expanding that area of the police department as well as many other parts of the department. One of the first things that I identified early here in Rowlett is the need for public information. We're going to be transparent with the community, and particularly when there's major incidents. You know, one thing I didn't mention is I think our staff does an amazing job of getting out social media posts when we have major incidents, getting message boards up on I-30 when there's accidents. We want to try to get that information out so that you can be aware, you can be informed, and then you can make a decision if you want to go brave the traffic or just stay home. But it is a goal of mine to establish a full-time Office of Public Information in the Chief's office in the coming months. It's entirely contingent on numerous officers that we have in training and their success, because my first priority is staffing officers on the street. And so it's a matter of moving shells. Without getting more officers, I'm taking an officer off the street to create a full-time public information officer. But I do want to recognize we do have a PIO team led by Lieutenant Harrelson in my professional standards that's here tonight, as well as several of our detectives that are, and a few officers that act as our public information officers. But their primary responsibilities, for example, are to be detectives. So they are at the scene investigating the crime, and so they don't have the ability to get those messages out in as rapid, efficient manner as we would like. So that's the goal.
One more thing before I forget. On the municipal building, are they moving the 911 center over there?
You mean with the new construction?
Let's say we get a municipal building, police and fire.
You mean a public safety building?
Right. Are they going to move the 911
Yes.
center there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. And regarding the municipal or the public safety center, I think you meant public safety. Municipal, I consider different.
I mean,
Public safety,
yes.
right? Okay, thank you. So we are actually, I actually just had a meeting with staff yesterday, and we discussed a educational package that we're going to be working on very soon. I think communications is actually working on it now, trying to come up with some ideas. Also, we really need to wait for council to take formal action to put it on the ballot, and that's going to happen early next month. And once that's been done, then we can actually get into the whole, how are we going to put together this education package? Because until then, it's all sort of preliminary, and so we need council to take formal action before that really takes place. Did you have something else on that, City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Lee, as you know, when we've done these campaigns in the past, you know, we always put together a brochure, we mail it to people. What we're discussing internally are some steps that may be more active or proactive. Maybe it's a series of small meetings, neighborhood meetings. You know, maybe we do a few of those in our fire stations just so people in the neighborhoods can hear about it. You know, both the charter election and the bond election. So try to use some different tools to get the word out. other than just flyers and public announcements. So we will have a whole campaign developed around that.
Yes, that's one of the topics we've considered as a community forum to kind of present, what our challenges are facility-wise, and then answer questions from the public on those issues. Yes.
I think we have to be really clear that the city itself cannot sell the idea of the bond, right? We're not advocates for it necessarily. And what we need to do is present the facts for the people to see. I want to take people through our police station and our municipal court and see the space constraints that the mayor described earlier. Lee mentioned it as well, the challenges that exist there where in the area where the detectives work, I mean, the corridors walking through there are maybe 2 feet wide. I mean, it's extremely tight quarters. There's not enough lockers for the female officers that we have. It is terrible. We have a property and evidence building that has foundation issues. Literally, it seems like it's sinking into the depths of the earth. It is vitally important that we have a public safety building, and I'm hopeful that council will approve to put it on the next bond, but the second step to that is to get our residents involved so that they can come see what's going on and make an educated decision when they go to the ballot. Thank you.
Just to clarify too, and the reason why the city itself cannot advocate for citizens passing this is due to state law. So it's not our choice. Anyways, all we can do is present the facts, be educational, and answer questions. Yes, sir.
Lee. Good evening. My name is Mark Eng, and I have a couple of questions, but I do want to follow up on a comment that he made with regards to the leaves and grass clippings going into the street. But it goes to the police department, perhaps enforcing netting over trailers, because we do see a lot of debris when we're traveling around. I think that by state code, they have to have some sort of netting over the back of the trailer. So just heads up for them to be, spotting that out. 2 questions. First one may be a real quick one. Any update on the garbage contract?
So I believe the bid has been extended for a period of time, but we're not expected to make a decision on that, at least at the council level for 7, 8, 9 months?
So just so you know, our contract with the FCC is not up until October 1 of 2024. But due to the delays of how long it would take to order equipment and get equipment in, we want new equipment. We don't want used equipment. We've started this process much earlier. This month we're taking the bids, and that they're nodding yes. And then as soon as we get those bids in, we'll evaluate those and bring them to council. Our goal would be to award a contract, even though if it wouldn't take place until then. So the bottom line is that we are actively bidding that project now. We had a mandatory date where companies that wanted to do that had to be there, and so we have a number of them that are going to submit bids.
Okay. So my second question is, and I'm not certain on the dates, but I think back in 2018, we had a tree canopy survey done for this community. And as you're well aware that whenever a developer comes in to build a number of new homes and trees have to be cut down, they have to pay into a tree fund. So I know that that tree fund has accumulated a few $100,000. And I'm wondering what we're going to be doing with that money. How can it be used with the park district, perhaps for some more trees, or how do we develop a better canopy of trees, within our community?
That's an excellent question, and actually, it's kind of weird because I literally was just thinking about that driving around today. In downtown, there's an area where there are a lot of dead trees in city right-of-way, and I was thinking, wonder how much money we have in our tree restoration fund. So I'm going to turn that over to Parks Director Aaron Cleaver, or
Manal.
Manal Maladad. I got the directors wrong, sorry.
Oh gosh, it's tall again. Thank you for the question, Mark. I'm going to try and summarize where we are with this. First of all, the tree preservation, the tree mitigation fund, obviously funds that we can use towards public facilities such as parks and enhanced trail systems and those types of things. Aaron and I are in fact working on a policy that we would create and present to show what the criteria are to establish a graduating scale or a criteria for implementing the tree mitigation funds and enforcing that element of it. In addition to that, because we know that the value of trees from an urban canopy perspective is very important, and to have an array and species of tree to ensure that the urban tree canopy does not stagnate and it does indeed grow, we are in the process of rewriting and will be presenting to the Parks Board and to Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council in the very near future a landscape ordinance with a conservation and low impact development influence in it. So absolutely, we will come forward with a policy on how to mitigate the funds, how to expend the funds, and of course we will be coming forward as we move forward with the Recode Rowlett, which is a code update. We will hand in hand have a conservation and landscape ordinance presented to you as well.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, my name's Andy Strick. I've been a resident of Rowlett for 33 years. Follow-up question to the proposed, what do we call it, public service building, public safety building. Will that be built on current city-owned land off of 190 here, just south of the high school? Will that be a permanent new complex? Is that part of that project?
That's currently what we're looking at very seriously. Yes.
Great.
I would say yes, until council formally passes the resolution to put something on the bond election. I'm going to say very likely yes.
I like that, very likely. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's talking about property that the city owns off of Miller Heights Drive and President George Bush Turnpike. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Billy Rogers from Lakewood Point Homeowners Association, board president, and I appreciate the Rowlett Police Department for how you responded to the incident with Twin Star. I guess I'm in favor of the basketball goal leaving, but this is a personal opinion. Maybe consider bringing it back for the summer. The kids don't have anything to do, and we're often policing our swimming pools and running the kids out who they're not in the neighborhood, but there's nothing to do in the summer. That park is about it, and I know that it brings a lot of older kids in the summer, so I don't know if we could close earlier at night, but there isn't anything to do if you don't go to that park or come to the swimming pools. And fortunately, you have to be a resident to come to the swimming pools, or we ask you to leave, so the kids don't have anything to do. And my other concern, I don't know if it's to the police or to whom, Amesbury and 66, there are a lot of accidents, and I read today that a Chick-fil-A is coming. We're having a lot of accidents, so whatever it takes, we need safety. And again, I want to thank you all, Mayor, Council, for all that you're doing, and for the residents of Lakewood Point who are here tonight, because we do, as you said, we want to know what to do about the crime, and we want to keep our community a place where we can raise our kids, and as I'm a retired educator, continue to live there in peace. Thank you.
Great questions. So regarding the basketball hoop, you know, I didn't know about that until tonight. I will tell you, I don't believe that is a permanent solution. I think that until some safety measures are put into place, then there may be some more consideration as to that basketball hoop, because you're right, kids need something to do, and I don't think that is the answer to solving violent crime. So, absolutely correct. Your second question on Amesbury and 66, I call that the no bueno intersection, because, and I have for many years, seems to be a wreck there once a week. It is a known issue. TxDOT has, from past memory, I believe they said that they would not make that turn lane into Taco Bueno a left turn lane only, I think. That may be another intersection. But one of the resolutions to this is another long-term one. We are, I think TxDOT is planning on starting construction at Dow Rock and 66. So yeah, traffic. But starting construction on Dow Rock and 66 pretty soon, I think May is the... Letting in May? I don't, what does letting mean? So sometime after May. And that project will include reconstructing the intersection to have 2 left turn lanes in all directions and at least 1 right turn lane in all directions. Additionally, it's my understanding that the eastbound, so you know during rush hour, there's 2 lanes that go straight eastbound into Rockwall, and it goes from 3 to 2. So what we're seeing is the 3rd lane directly in front of Taco Bueno is wide open. And so you have cars flying down that 1 lane and people turning into Taco Bueno that end up getting T-boned because they decided to go forward without knowing if a car was coming. And that's a lot of what's happening in the intersection. So it's my understanding that the 3rd lane, that part of the construction will include extending eastbound, a 3rd lane eastbound to in front of neighborhood Walmart so that the transition from 3 to 2 lanes will occur later on past the intersection and allow those 3 lanes just before Dow Rock to be utilized completely. And that way you're not seeing the wrecks that have been happening there. Yeah.
And again, as a resident of that neighborhood, yeah, every time I hear sirens,
Okay.
I can almost bet that that's where the accidents
Okay.
happen.
So
Back
I
on that-
hope that helps us get out of the neighborhood, because it's still a problem to get out of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. I actually had a ride-along with Lieutenant Castiglione back at National Night Out, and we discussed that issue. And what he told me was that a few options were presented to TxDOT as far as what we could do. And they went with the least effective option, which was to put up a sign that says no left turn between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. That, as you know, has had virtually no effect on people turning left from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. because they still do it all the time. Unfortunately, we are at TxDOT's mercy with how we control that intersection because it's up to them whether or not we can close off that middle island, and they're not willing to do that. You also had mentioned the Chick-fil-A, so I would only ask just Munal maybe to come up and speak to the traffic control plan for Chick-fil-A and how they're going to manage traffic so that maybe we don't have some of the same issues we do with the Chick-fil-A on the west side of town that lead to traffic backing up onto Rowlett, or 66, excuse me.
Sure. I'll try and recall as best as I can. I have not committed the plans to memory, but I do know that, and I might lean on Jeff a little bit too, but I do know that the intersection improvements at Dow Rock and 66 should lend to alleviating some of the concerns we do there. In terms of requiring, first of all, there will be internal circulation through mutual or common access easements within the property. I don't believe there will be a dedicated turn lane off of, right turn lane off of 66 into Chick-fil-A, but there are several access points. As you know, it is older development in that area, and there are already numerous access points to that shopping center, for the lack of a better word, because there are a myriad of uses there. But we're hopeful through the circulation patterns and allowing relief onto Dow Rock itself and off of 66 that we may see, especially with the improvements to the intersection, that we may see some relief with it.
Also, regarding Chick-fil-A, y'all may not know about this. The old Inwood National Bank at Dow Rock and 66 is being torn down. A Chick-fil-A will go there along with another retail entity. I don't remember the name of it, if they even have a name. So from what I recall, looking at the schematics for Chick-fil-A, the traffic will loop around the property on Chick-fil-A, so that way you have a lot of internal lines rather than lines going and feeding onto 66, because that would not be acceptable. Yes, sir.
Stanley Pollard. This is more informational than a question. In regards to the tree preservation ordinance, I happen to be around when that was written, and the tree preservation ordinance was set forward in the first place, not so that developers would have a fund to stick money into. It was really to try to preserve the trees. In some developments, it was not an option to preserve some of the trees. So therefore, the alternative was to have a fund. Now, somebody in the staff can correct me if I'm wrong. I think in a recent meeting I was in, there's some $400,000 in that tree preservation fund. And I can tell you when that was first set out, nobody would dream it would be that much. Actually, you need an ordinance that discourages developers from taking down the trees and working within the land and to put in their subdivision or their buildings and try to preserve. What I think we have done, my observation over the years, is we've allowed developers to come in and just basically, oh, I want to take all these trees out, I got to level out the land. Okay, so you just contribute to that. And $400,000, council, is well of a lot of money to reforest this city. I don't care how many parks you got. You're still going to have a huge amount of money in that fund. So I would say when you write your ordinance, it should be aimed at discouraging taking out the trees and working around the trees for your subdivision or your development.
Manal Malada, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. So absolutely do concur. There is a balance in the tree fund, and the purpose of the ordinance, I'm sure when it was written, was indeed that. However, we do have some challenging properties now, and I'll get to why I'm saying this. But the goal of the new ordinance will be to ensure that the lay of the land is what's considered in terms of design, and not the design not taking into consideration the lay of the land. So through low impact development, encouraging less impervious area, working on those elements will definitely preserve our existing tree canopy. Secondly, with the expenditure of the tree preservation funds, it won't, it can be used towards, for instance, if we're looking at our master thoroughfare plan, having a boulevard system, working on the heat island effect, and using those elements, traffic calming functions. That will be the purpose of the new ordinance that we are going to present very, very soon. And with the Rowlett recode, we will also be in a position to do that. So absolutely concur, and that is what we're striving to get to eventually.
Also on that, there are numerous form-based code neighborhoods. We are getting ready to overhaul form-based code. We're actually in the process of that, and the Rowlett Development Code. But anyways, form-based code neighborhoods, you'll see a lot of open space on purpose, and a lot of that open space contains existing trees that were there before the development took place. So some of that's already being built in. It's going to take time to do that for other new developments. You'll see back then, you build a neighborhood, you just wipe the whole thing clean, and there's no consideration for what was there previously. So we're seeing in some other new neighborhoods, for example, Homestead and others like it, where they're utilizing open space that's already there and keeping the trees that were previously there, the healthy ones. Yes, sir.
I'm Matthew Miller from 3410 Starlight Drive. Where do y'all see Rowlett in 5 years, the population?
Oh, I don't have that crystal ball. I can tell you that it's interesting how we do population estimates. The census, so previous to 2020, our estimated population was 73,000 people. Post-2020 census, when they do the whole count, they said that we had 63,000 people. So there's obviously something off in terms of estimates versus real numbers and whether the real numbers are totally real. You know what I'm saying? So the answer to your question is, I don't know. That depends on a lot of different factors.
Well, I look at the point, Bayside. I looked at the schematics on it the other day, everything else, and it's a whole lot different. It looked like to me the whole area on the, what, west?
Southwest side?
Southwest side is residential, homeowner. And in 5 years from now, which the time, that's the point, the end of 30 is supposed to be finished up in Del Rock and everything, and Rockwall. That you're talking about traffic bad now, we ain't gonna be able to get out of, get out of Rowlett.
Yeah, I think traffic is bad everywhere in DFW right
Exactly.
now. We have 1,000 people a day moving to Texas, and I think 400 of that is moving to North Texas every day. Those are the stats by, I believe it's the North Texas Commission, at least the latest stats I've seen. So growth is happening everywhere, rapid growth, and we can only control growth to a certain extent because at the end of the day, there's private property rights, and if you want to develop the property you own or sell it to be developed, you have that right as long as it meets certain codes and building requirements. So building is going to come whether we like it or not. It's how we can control it and make, be strategic about it as much as possible.
Well, I'm 81, so I'm gonna see what it's gonna be in 91. And I'm gonna come back and tell you what's up.
Oh, no, you only get one shot, sir. No, you can come back.
Are you serious?
No, you come on,
Oh,
come on.
Thank you. Okay. Hey, I want to talk about park safety and at Paddle Point Park. I probably spend more time there. And Jeff, every morning, my Labrador Retriever, not exactly the best guard dog, wakes me up, and between 5 and 6, I'm out there in the dark walking through Paddle Point Park. And there are no signs, or nobody knows what the park rules and regulations are. My daughter went through the Action Center several years ago and got no response at all. But nobody knows what the rules and regulations for the park are.
There's not a sign there? I thought there was a sign.
Absolutely not. Nope, there hadn't been one for 4 or 5 years, and
Okay.
it's been ignored by at least my daughter's request. But there are 3 agencies that have jurisdiction or patrol over the area of Paddle Point Park: the Texas Game Wardens, the Dallas Marine Police, and our Rowlett Police. At this time, there are 2 of those organizations that are writing tickets. That would be the Game Wardens when they catch people swimming without a life jacket or jumping off the bridge, and the Dallas Marine Police, same thing. And the Rowlett Police, they come out there all the time because the procedure is I call the dispatch number, and when an officer's available, they'll come out and ask somebody who's fishing in the non-fishing area to leave. Or sometimes people will call and there's no procedure for people jumping off the bridge, but the Rowlett Police will occasionally come out and ask people not to jump off the bridge. My understanding is no citations are written for that from Rowlett Police, and there's been no change in the behavior there, and at least on a national basis with issues like this in paddle sports areas, you do it through education and enforcement, and I don't think we're accomplishing anything with education or enforcement out there. So I'd just like to throw that out. And Jeff, I really like the way you said it's not for council to sell these items, but to get the residents to take a look at them and bring the residents in. So maybe on this park safety, and Paddle Point Park for sure, if we can get the residents in, and with my business there, and I guarantee I spend more time out there than anybody, even my Labrador Retriever too, but get us involved in it, and that would be good. Is there anything else? Yeah.
Can I answer the question first about Paddle Point? So it's you know that the water is owned by the city of Dallas, Dallas Water Utilities, and jurisdiction regarding law enforcement is the game warden and the Dallas Marines, right? Rowlett Police doesn't have jurisdiction per se over the water. We do up to the point of the take line, but once you enter the water, we can tell you to, you shouldn't do that, but we can't write you a citation necessarily for that. And this, I believe the same goes for the railroad crossing, the bridge. I don't believe that's city jurisdiction, so therefore, we can only strongly encourage that they don't jump off of that, because I know that there's been people who've jumped off of that who didn't come back up. So, I mean, citation-wise, I don't know that we have that ability. Is that correct? Okay, that's correct.
On the no fishing, and that's probably the majority of the calls that I've made, I believe the ordinance that was passed, we could write a citation, and all this...
if they're doing it on city property.
That's right, and that's what's taking place, and no citations are being written for that.
Well, I mean, if they voluntarily comply to leave, then I don't, officer has discretion to determine whether a citation should or not be issued.
Absolutely, but we're devoting tremendous resources, personnel and police equipment to that, and there's been no change in behavior. And it sounds like public safety at the parks is a hot issue here, and I'd suggest that we take a look at that. And again, on a national basis, this is not something new, and many other cities, issues like this have been solved through education and enforcement.
I think the park rules at a minimum should be something that we can easily solve for. I know that in other parks there are signs posted, and so I don't think that should be a problem at all. Okay.
Sounds good.
I got a thumbs up on that.
Great, thanks.
You had another question?
Yes, sir. There was a question about what can kids do during the summer, legitimate question, and I'm working with the park board. Okay, Brian, you know what's coming on this one. I've been talking to the Parks Board about getting a TPWD grant, so this would fund it to provide kayaks at Paddle Point Park for the kids who are swimming out there now in what is arguably, factually, a very unsafe environment with no life jackets, broken glass, fishing lures, hooks. Get them in kayaks with life jackets on, and professional instructors there. And you should be hearing something from the Park Advisory Board. If you haven't, maybe reach down to them. And there's a gentleman right there who's been sitting in on all these conversations. So I think this is an easy one to answer that question. Not the entire solution, but one piece of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know if I can answer a question on that. I guess it's more, was it just more of kind of like what's to come for us? Is there a question there?
Yeah, Dave's been talking with the park board about this for a little bit. I think he's been working with Carrie Pacheco, I believe, and the grant writer to work on the grant. So this is something that is coming. It does sound like an opportunity for us if we can get the funding. The idea that kids can learn this water sport, I think, is a very good thing. I do see some challenges. I think the lady who was talking to us about the kids, getting the kids from the area around Twin Star Park down to Paddle Point Park is something we'll have to think about. How we get people when we offer it, because she's talking about kids that are they're out of school for the summer and they've got 10 weeks to kill. Now me, I might have been paddling every day of that week if I could have, but I don't know if our grant would cover that. So this is something that will, I think, come to the Parks Board first, if I understand it right. And then I don't know if there's any real action by council to make this happen, or if this is just a rec program. Aaron, do you have any idea?
It's just a grant. Maybe to approve the grant.
To accept it, yeah. But good point. It is to the point of keeping kids busy. That's a good way to do it. So.
Yeah. Hey, and you mentioned another good point. How do we get the kids from point A to point B being Paddle Point Park? There are additional grants, and I get copies of these requests all the time out there specifically for moving kids from point A to point B for natural areas like Paddle Point Park. So I think if we if you like the idea, I'm certainly willing to champion it and work with it and give you all the information I get on it. Not the entire solution, but a piece of it.
I don't think we're going to make that decision right here, but we appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thank you. I'll do two more questions. Before I do that, I want to take at least one online question. Yes, Denise.
When will the right lane on Del Rock leading up to I-30 be reopened?
That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that. Jeff Cohen does, though. Right?
I don't know if I know an exact date. It is going to be a while. That lane, I'm sorry, is that, that lane is not closed?
It is closed.
It's closed now?
From Chisa to 30.
Oh, the extreme right lane, but there is still access to 30.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes. So they've closed that because they need to construct that intersection, construct that interchange. When the bridge over at Sapphire Bay Boulevard, which is going to go over 30 and over into Sapphire Bay, when that bridge is finished and traffic can be routed, they'll be able to route traffic around on Sunset and then down on Sapphire Bay Boulevard and then over onto the I-30, either to go east or west. But until then, they really are between a rock and a hard place in terms of getting that, leaving that lane closed and only having one lane available to access 30.
This is the pain of
Yes.
progress, and you know, we all want roads that have more capacity for cars because we want less traffic, but it takes a while to get to that point via construction, and it's painful during construction.
So that's the explanation, which I think we understand. The question was, do you have any idea how?
A timeline.
That was the question.
That's TxDOT.
I don't
know.
have their timeline, but it is a while.
We're talking 6 months.
Let me say this, Jeff. We have a schedule calendar that TxDOT does provide to us. We may not know that exact answer tonight, but we'll make sure we post it like on our website or something so people can see that. But that answer is out there. Now, I understand they may have timetables that shift, but no, they have a plan though for it. And TxDOT is generally really efficient in accomplishing those types of plans.
Also, they are working on a plan to shorten that time length. They just haven't made the proposal to the city because it is going to involve some traffic control that we have to agree to.
Mayor Pro Tem Winget found the answer. I'm going to read it. This is a quote from somebody. Hold on. Angie Smith, the Deputy City Manager. She said, quote, "Speaking with Mr. Cody, the project manager today," I guess that's a project manager for TxDOT, "all the issues should begin to relieve itself in the spring or early summer when major components are installed and opened. In the spring, the right turn lane of traffic will be opened and detoured down Sunset to Bayside and onto the service road/freeway entrance being constructed. The flyover bridge replacing the old bridge will also be completed. This should relieve most of the congestion in the intersection." So pretty much reiterated what Jeff Cohen said, but we have a more defined timeline from that answer. Spring. Yeah, 2 more questions. Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yelling from the front row here. Hi, my name is Mark Lear. Follow up on the very first question about Lakeside Park and Paddle Point Park, the restrooms. Notwithstanding the whatever permanent structure we're going to put in that first parking lot, prior to the pandemic, there was a porta potty in each of the 3 parking lots. As you guys know, the Lakeside Park is fairly long and it's fairly crowded on weekends, especially holiday weekends. I'd like to see, even when we put this, relatively permanent building in that far parking lot toward Miller, I'd like to see at least one porta potty put in each of the other 2 parking lots. Is there a reason that can't be done?
Well, I think the permanent restroom was in order to solve that problem. I believe we removed the porta potties whenever we were in the middle of the pandemic.
Right.
And I don't know,
yeah.
I don't know, so they're not back? Is that what I'm being told?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
there are two that are crossed at Paddle Point, but those porta potties have never been replaced at Lakeside
Okay.
Park.
I will inquire with that. But the permanent restroom was really funded in order to not have temporary porta potties, because those require basically once a month they have to be
Right.
emptied and redone, and then we're paying a contract service for that.
Understand
So I'd
that.
rather not have that and have
Right.
a permanent facility.
But what I guess my point is that if you have them down at that far parking lot, you're still not alleviating the problem at the other end of the park, is my point. You understand?
Yeah, I think the only thing for that is
porta potties.
Probably have to walk a little further.
2 porta potties. That's all I'm asking for. 2 porta potties. It can't,
We can get our
it can't
exercise
be that
in.
expensive, you know?
Get our exercise in, walk a little bit. One more question? Yes, sir.
Since nobody else is seeming to want to come forward, Stanley Pollard again. This is not a question, this is more of a comment back to y'all. I appreciate the council taking time to look in further to the library and potentially leasing the end caps there and negotiating that more than just, hey, we're going to renew it. So I wanted to thank each one of y'all for looking into that more, because for whatever it's worth, and people listening, since we closed the library there on Main Street where the apartments are and where the current library is, and we own that facility, it was 15,000 square foot. When we moved over to North Rowlett Road, it shrunk. It's still smaller than what we had several years ago. We're now 12,000 square foot, I think. We've never even gotten to where we were, and we've grown significantly since that building was built at 15,000 square foot for books and so forth. So, you know, whatever y'all can do there, and trying to expedite, one, a new library, of course, but two, knowing that that's probably not going to, in reality, happen anytime soon, do appreciate y'all looking into expanding the library for the end caps.
Thank you, and I think we agree that absolutely we need to at least consider the fact that an end cap could be feasible, and I believe we got those numbers back, but we'll address that when it gets to council in a work session February 7th. So stay tuned to that. We're going to have more discussion on that regarding the end cap and the possibility of also leasing that as well. And regarding the history of the library, oh my goodness, I could talk about that all day. And there's a lot of things that could have been done differently, but we'll not go into that now. Alrighty, well, I appreciate every one of y'all for showing up tonight. I appreciate the staff for being here to answer questions. Thank you to our Facebook Live viewers, and thank you to our council for being here. Again, it's our honor to serve you, and again, thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.